Whoa.
What?
Friday, Damony 56. You're the first one. You get the wave today. You joined first, followed by Patty Hicks, followed by Drew Copeland third, Sky Lee, and 11 others all at once. Cool Way Sports. I see you a lot, Cool Way Sports. Oh, there's David Phoenix Inc. David Phoenix Inc., a designer. Check out his website, David Phoenix, if you're looking to. He just wrote for the Sunday paper how to dine as one, which I thought was really very smart.
We should write one on how to dine as two.
How to, yeah, well, a lot of people dine as two, but not a lot of people dine beautifully as one.
No,
That's
I
a
know.
whole art unto its own.
And David is quite the chef as well.
He is. Oh, Patrick is eating. Okay.
Well, I was gonna have
Anyway,
a little gummy.
hi, TGIF. Hello, everybody. I'm Maria Shriver, and you are?
Patrick Schwarzenegger, and I was about to have some sort of starburst, but she wouldn't let me, so I'm gonna pack it away for later.
Good. And we are mother and son, and we are home.
Together. And now
Yes.
we are also finishing each other's...
Sentences.
Come on.
That took a minute.
Jeez.
Okay,
Louise.
all right, wow.
Someone get her some coffee.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. I had my egg bites today, so I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm ready to go. I'm grateful that it's Friday. I'm grateful to all the essential workers who have been out there keeping us safe, who have been working in supermarkets, who have been dropping off packages, dropping off mail, helping out people in their homes. We're all blessed and we're all grateful. And speaking of staying in your home, or speaking of being in your homes, all of you are doing an active service by staying at home. I know there's a lot of discussion now about lifting stay at home, modifying stay at home, but we're staying at home because we've been told that that's what's helpful. That's the service that we've been asked to perform, and we are doing it with love and gratitude for all those who are performing their acts of service.
Two
especially
people
in the
asked,
hospital.
what are your egg bites? What's the recipe? You should put your recipe for the egg bites one day.
Well, it's not my recipe.
Well,
It's Starbucks'
you
recipe.
loved it from
that-
Starbucks, but we made them at home.
Yeah, we ripped
So
it off.
You just do a little cupcake pan. You scramble some eggs together and put some cheese and vegetables, and in the oven for 45 minutes, and bang, you got some egg bites.
Woo. Oh, I love that Annie Palm. She says, I cannot stay at home. I'm essential. Thank you, Annie Palm, for what you're doing that is essential. And actually in the Sunday paper this Sunday, I'm writing about what's essential moving forward and how those of us who might feel non-essential right now can be essential moving forward, and what we all have within us that's essential. And there's somebody else talking about the egg bites. But I'm super excited, speaking of essential workers, to be welcoming today somebody who has really been on the front lines of this pandemic, someone who knows firsthand what it's like to be essential, someone who knows what it's like firsthand to be essential, and someone who can tell us firsthand what's going on in our hospitals, in our ER rooms, and how we can continue to be of service, how we can be essential in our own ways.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty interesting how he's getting his message out there.
Yes.
I mean, the doctor's not only going on, CNN and Fox and using media as a medium, but he's also, posting YouTube videos and doing raps and making music and songs because he knows that that's a way that people will also listen, and he's combining the two of talking about the disease and what's going on and the lack of protection equipment they've had and what they need people to be doing, all through music.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, so you're
so
on there.
Dr.
All
Chris
right.
Hahn is an emergency room doctor at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. It said he is requesting from
All
Mount
right.
Sinai.
Mount Sinai.
It just
NYC.
went by. From Mount Sinai, we're waiting. He's not going to rap right now. Oh, love his rap, says Joel's Garden.
And we got to
He's
be
really
very,
good.
wary of his time. We know that he's on
Oh,
a tight
okay.
schedule and he's probably saving
He's
people's
super important.
lives. So
He's
we're
super
just going to try to
essential.
keep this as a quick conversation. Hello.
All right.
Doctor.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us today. And on behalf of all of us across the country, thank you for your service, your love of humanity, and the care you are putting into humanity on behalf of all of us who are staying at home and not doing what you're doing.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
Well, thank you. So tell us right now what you're seeing, doctor, in the emergency room in the hospital right now. I know New York is a little bit different, but what you're seeing there and really around the country.
Yeah, so I think that what we're seeing right now is from the ER perspective, we are kind of on the downslope of the volume, which is great. The number of cases that are coming in every day are fewer and fewer, which is good. But that said, the inpatient services in the ICUs are kind of bursting at the seams all over the place. The sense is that we spent the last few weeks basically trying to create space wherever we could. In the ER itself, opening up operating rooms, endoscopy suites, waiting rooms all over the place. And we even have, there's a ship in the Hudson, there's a hospital in the middle of Central Park. So those places are now getting to capacity. So if we were to get another surge, that would be a huge problem because we've kind of already kind of filled up that space. So from the front door perspective, we are seeing fewer sick people come in, which is good. But there's still a lot of work that's being done in the hospital. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you guys lobbying with the governor to keep kind of the economy at a somewhat of a close? Because are you guys worried that if this opens back up, you're going to kind of see a new rise in the curve, and all of a sudden you're kind of back to a worse situation than you were at square one?
Yeah, I think that our governor and I think the leadership in general have been very good about listening to the public health experts. And I think they have their finger on the pulse about what's going on, what the numbers are, what the capacity is, what is needed. And at this point, one of my fears is we just don't know how prevalent the disease is. We've been testing people that get admitted. We have not been testing mild disease that we send home. And we don't really have a sense of what the asymptomatic rate is in New York City. We haven't had a population-based study of just everyone in the city or in some county or something like that to really know how many people are walking around that are potentially infectious. And I think until we get to that point, we're nowhere ready to be able to handle the potential, recurrence of a surge.
So is it, in your opinion and your colleagues, you want us to stay home still because until you feel like you can get a handle on this, you've got all you can handle?
Correct. Yeah, I don't see in the near future how we can change the social distancing. Because at this point, if you were to just kind of let things open up again, like I said, we are meeting, that capacity that we've been creating. I don't know how much more space can actually be built. We've been getting a lot of ventilators donated and created, and we've been getting all types of new materials coming in. But at some point, you're going to hit a peak that you simply can't manage. And I think if we were to risk a return to kind of spreading the virus all over the place, that would be a disaster. I do recognize the public health risk of isolation in and of itself. We are also seeing people that are out of the job that are coming in, suicidal, taking overdoses, or having complications of alcoholism. All of those things are real issues that we're going to have to manage and address. And I take very, very seriously, but you have to prioritize the immediate life threat. So I think at this point, I don't see how it's feasible to change course.
And what are they doing with the Navy ships now? I know at first in New York, you guys were trying to use it for non-COVID patients, and then they were switching over to bringing on COVID patients because you've seen such a decrease in hospital cases from car accidents, from crime, from other areas. Is that still the case, or what's happening with that?
The inpatient services have been coordinating, so we haven't been doing any transfers from the emergency room getting beds at any of these other outside facilities. Like the Javits Center is another place where people have been going. The inpatient services have been doing that. So my understanding is that it has changed to COVID, but I don't know what the kind of latest is on that.
Doctor, what is the mood? Several people here are, first of all, thanking you for your heroic work and all the people that work with you. They're asking, what is the mood in the hospital right now?
Yeah, I think that people, we've gotten used to a new norm. And I think many of us have been trained to do just this. You know, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything, but we see a lot of suffering on a day-to-day basis. Our hospitals are often operating at near full capacity regularly. The big difference now is the risk to ourselves. And at this point, you know, we went through a number of weeks where we didn't really know what the proper protection was. Do you need just a surgical mask? Do you need an N95 mask? Are we going to run out of N95 masks? So not knowing what to expect or what the right answer is was part of the fear, I think, and hesitation. That said, we have now hit a point where I think we are very comfortable in our routine. We have enough material. You know, it used to be that when you go into a patient's room who's a patient you might be concerned has tuberculosis, for example, you put an N95 mask on, and when you come out of the room, you take the N95 mask off and you throw it out. And you have to go back in, you take another mask and you do it again.
Wow.
So that's what it used to be, and that's kind of what we've all been used to. And now you get one mask per shift, which we've now been comfortable with. And I think you've probably seen it's been a few days since I've worked, but you'll notice that a lot of the healthcare workers will have kind of these red marks on their noses. That's because these N95s come with metal bridges that are basically giving you a pressure ulcer on your nose, and because you just wear it for 10 or 12 hours straight, depending on what your shift is. So at this point, you know, we've hit our, I think, kind of new normal routine. I honestly find it sometimes to be a little bit more stress provoking to be at home and thinking about what's going on and what I might walk into the next shift. Yeah. But when you're actually there, you just get back into the zone. And I think that we all have our own routines now where we feel safe. And I honestly feel that people have just shown up and done their job. I really have not found a big difference in people's attitudes. If anything else, people have stepped up more, worked more. We have doctors that are older that we consider to be vulnerable. You know, we don't want them getting ill and having severe complications. So other people have kind of jumped in and picked up their shifts. We have nurses that are working extra shifts to make sure we don't run out of staffing. So I think for the most part, we've done a great job.
I'm curious, when you say that you're now on to one mask a shift, is that because there's a lack of supply, or is that because you guys have now found out that you don't need to change every single time you go in and out?
Yeah, so I think one is the concern you're going to run out of a supply because you have just so many people that need to wear them. So at one of our sites, it's considered COVID endemic, meaning anywhere you go, there might just be coronavirus aerosolized, you know, wherever you're walking. Thus, you need to be wearing an N95 if you come to the ER. So there are signs posted all over any entrance to the ER, you know, you must be wearing an N95 mask to enter. So every single person, you know, from the radiology techs, the nurses, the doctors, the environmental workers, everyone is wearing one. So you're talking about in a system like ours, we have, I think, like 7 hospitals. You're talking about many thousands of masks per day. So it is an issue with supply because who knows how long this is going to last and how long we're going to need to have these masks.
Right.
And the way that we're using them is we typically cover the N95 mask with a surgical mask. So if you were to get sprayed with something, theoretically, even though we also have face shields on, or if someone were to cough on you, that surgical mask is protecting your N95, which is a little bit more valuable. So you can swap out the surgical mask, recover it, and you keep the N95 on.
And I'm just curious on you were saying when you were having doctors have to come in and step up and do double shifts or taking over shifts. So is there a speaking of supply, kind of a lack of supply for doctors and have you guys thought about, I'm just curious, my little brother is at school, he's about to graduate. Have you guys thought about medical students that are about to graduate, kind of bringing their graduation up and taking on students that were, you know, supposed to be finished with their med school next month?
Yes. So a lot of the hospitals or a lot of the schools have done that. So at Mount Sinai, they graduated this 2020 class early, and I think it's somewhere around 50 of their medical students that matched into the Mount Sinai system were offered basically spots to just start working beginning, you know, basically onboarding in April as opposed to July. I think NYU has done something similar and potentially Albert Einstein as well up in the Bronx. So I think a lot of the schools are doing that. And in terms of staffing, we've been okay in the emergency room. You know, I can speak for us. We've had the bodies. The inpatient side is, like I said, you know, you're opening up all this new space, and it's really an all hands on deck effort. So
Yeah.
all these different specialties, ENT, orthopedics, neurosurgery, are getting thrown into the mix as well, taking care of these coronavirus patients. And everyone is helping to run teams, et cetera. So it's been a massive effort. But fortunately, we are lucky to have a lot of resources and a lot of people to be able to step up. And we also do have traveling nurses. So we've actually hired more people to come in from out of town.
Yeah, it's really been extraordinary watching the news, watching people coming from all across the country to go into hospitals where they're needed, traveling in planes, on cars and buses, people really showing up. Where you were saying it's a little bit hard to be at home, actually, and not in the hospital where you've trained to be. You've got 3 young kids. How are you
I do.
balancing your own private life, your own personal life, with your call for service, the oath that you take to be of service?
Yeah, that's I think that the way people are responding to this is very, it's a very personal decision. For me, my kids are young. I have a 5-year, 3 boys, 5, 3, and 2. And
Wow.
my 5-year-old is in kindergarten, so he has a whole online program, and my 3-year-old has these preschool type projects that he does, and my 2-year-old is 2. So that's he's a handful. And the idea of being away for a day or a week or a couple weeks or even a month, if you knew, after 30 days this is going to be under control and you can come back home. That's one thing, but I don't know when I'm going to stop seeing coronavirus patients. It might be, 6 months, a year, 18 months. I don't know how long it's going to be until I can definitively say that I'm not going in to get exposed to some contagion that I could potentially bring home.
Wow.
So my wife and I talked about it, obviously, and we made the decision to try to maintain our same routine. Now, I don't know if I could be an asymptomatic shedder of the virus. So if I touch my nose, for example, I'm very cognizant to wash my hands. My kids jump all over me, so it's always a risk. And I think if this were a more severe disease in kids, or if one of my kids were immunocompromised or had some illness of some kind, I would be much more hesitant to come home. But I think at this point we're keeping this routine, and hopefully it works out.
Right.
My wife and I are both relatively healthy people, but there are a lot of people that I work with that are staying in a hotel or completely separate space in the house or apartment from their families, which just adds to another layer of stress that is really hard to imagine.
Right. I saw that. And talk about what I found was so interesting in kind of looking you up before was these using music and using rap as a medium to get your message across
Yes.
to a lot of people in New York and across the nation. Tell people a little bit about that. You have a passion for music and for rap as well.
I do, yeah. So I say that I was an MC long before I was an MD. And I took a couple of years before medical school to pursue music. And I don't think I went all out on it by any means, but it was a serious consideration. And then once I got to medical school, I started writing a little bit more about my experiences going through medical school training, which is pretty rigorous.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was a resident, one of my attendings came up, he basically just made a joke. He's like, it'd be really funny if you made a video of like ultrasounding the heart, and like cardiologists would love that and think it's so funny. And I was like, haha, that's a really good idea. And I actually started making educational videos. And that is kind of where things have taken off. And so I've done things like public service announcements. And then I also still write about kind of the emotional experience of medicine, which I could share with you. I have something that I think would be.
A few people are asking you to give them a little sliver of
somebody
what
says Dr. Hahn is my nephew. Lynn 33 says Dr. Hahn.
Oh yes, hey Lynn, how are you? Out of Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give you something that's kind of more on the um, the emotional side of caring for these patients.
All right, you
Okay.
don't need a beat, do you?
Well, we'll do it a cappella.
Okay.
Um, the white coat's not a cape. It's not any protection. You're still affected by your patients, and you end up catching something more contagious than infection. And what you're left with over time is you're either overwhelmed or go numb and disconnected. But the healer's being hurt, that seems to defeat the purpose. But trust, this fire's burned us, but us, we keep the scars buried deep beneath the surface, get crushed. Then we learn to get up. That's how we earn your trust. And you're right, life isn't perfect, but it's worth it to fight. It's a must, because each night, the darkest hour, despite any weather, we're like clock's hands at midnight. We stick together and we stare at the flames and never cover our eyes. Feel the heat on our skin, keeping someone alive. And sometimes, no matter what you try, someone will die. That's why you walk through that ambulance bay and handle the pain. We're human, not fireproof, battling flames.
Wow.
Wow. Give the man
Thank
a
you.
contract.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hahn, I want to thank you so much. I know you're like on the line all the time. On behalf of the entire country, all of us, thank you so much for the work you are doing and your colleagues are doing to keep us safe. We're trying to do our part by staying at home and staying healthy so we don't add to your burden and add to the people coming in. But we could talk to you all day. A lot of questions in here about how far out do you think there's a test? When, you
Yeah.
know, I'm
Yeah.
sure you don't know, probably, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know how long this is going to go. I just don't see a end in sight until we get massive testing on a regular
Right.
basis in a very systematic way and a vaccine. And some way of, one of the things I'm curious to see what turns out is whether or not you can get it again after getting it once. So
Right.
it seems that these alpha coronaviruses, the coronaviruses that circulate on a yearly basis that are just the common cold, the reason why you lose immunity to it is because by the time your like the next season rolls around, your immune response was not strong enough, so your immunity wanes, so you're again susceptible the next year. So it's different from the flu where it's genetic drift, so you just have different antigens that your body has to attack.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, I just don't know what developing antibodies is going to mean. How long are they going to last? So I think there's a lot of questions unanswered, and like a lot of experts have said, I just don't know, but I don't see it being anytime soon.
Okay,
Right.
well, what we do know,
It's
and
your birthday.
is that it's your birthday. It's
Oh,
all
yes.
over. All these comments are
How does
over.
everybody know? We didn't even
How
know.
we didn't know.
Terrible.
I'm often. I think there might be a sign above me. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
My
Well, happy birthday. Thank you for taking
thank you.
the
This is
time on
great.
your
This is a great gift for me.
You're a great gift to all of us. Thank you so much to all the frontline heroes making this world a better place. God bless you and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If I could, I would just like to say that, I want to give I want to give props to a lot of New York City out there. In Manhattan, one of the important stories that I'm sure that you've seen is that in Manhattan, for many different reasons, we have not got hit as hard as other boroughs. And there are a lot of doctors and healthcare workers out there that have really, really been, struggling and, really stepping up to the challenge. And I just want to thank them myself. I feel like in many ways we're just doing our job, but I look at them in awe in many ways also.
Well,
Amen.
thank you. Thank you to
Amen.
everybody.
We look at you in awe. There's a lot of awe going around and a gratitude. Thank you. Go back to your kids and go back to your birthday.
Okay. Thank you. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me on.
See ya.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow. What an inspirational young man on his birthday.
What a rap.
What a rap. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it. Gave
Multi-talented.
me goosebumps. That is a great way for us to end our Monday through Friday home together with somebody that inspirational, somebody putting their life on the line for us, regardless of where you live. We have doctors and nurses, many, as you said, who've just come right out of medical school, right into the ER, right into ICU units. We have doctors who have retired, who have come back to work to be of service. There was a whole campaign for those healthcare workers here in California to come out of retirement and to help out. We have so many other young people wanting to get involved in being of service. So that is what is so great about this country, is that all of us can serve, even regardless if we're doctors or nurses. We can all be essential in some way. Maybe not like the incredible Dr. Hahn, but what a debt of gratitude do we owe to
him and all the other doctors and nurses and
that we will never see.
I know.
That we will never see, but we can see in our prayers. So thank you to Dr. Hahn. Thank you all who tuned in to hear him. Thank you for all the birthday wishes that you sent to him. That was really beautiful. I don't know how everybody knew that. Maybe somebody who was his nephew or knew him started it. But thank you, whoever started saying happy birthday, Dr. Hahn. Thank you, because we do read the comments. So
we try to.
We try to, even though they go really fast. So my eyes aren't as good as yours. But anyway, we want to thank you so much. We have a really exciting week next week. Also, I'll be doing Sunday Paper Live, and we'll talk about conscious parenting and being a conscious human being in this time of being at home. And for many people who have small children at home, Dr. Shefali will be talking about conscious parenting and conscious presenting.
So thank you guys so much, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.